I'm Nella from Winnipeg BJD, and welcome to Not Your Average Doll, an intro to BJDs. I have been collecting since 2006 and have 32 BJDs, though only 29 are on display at any given time. Since this is pre-recorded, I can't interact with you the same way I would as at an in-person con. If you have any questions after the panel, I'll be on Discord all day. And you can always send me an email or contact me over social media. First off, what is a BJD? So all this go right here, these dolls behind me and on the other side behind me, they're all ball jointed dolls. They're all BJDs. So BJD stands for ball jointed dolls. And there are three important characteristics that distinguish a BJD from, say, an action figure or an articulated anime figure, or even those like super articulated Barbies and Monster High and stuff. A BJD is a doll that, one, has ball and socket articulation, two, is strung with elastic, and three, and most importantly, is designed to be customized. Let's break down those characteristics. So, ball and socket articulation is exactly what it sounds like. The joints are round or kind of oblong, ovalish, and they fit into a socket. The exact joint shape varies, but the basic principle is the same. Some BJDs, especially older ones, have very round joints, while newer models often have more specialized shapes for various reasons. Usually having to do with trying to increase the range of motion that you can have with these dolls. So, what does ball and socket articulation look like? I'll show you with my model Usagi here. Okay. So let's look at her elbow. So you can see how there's kind of this hollow. So this part here is the socket, and the part that I pulled out here, actually right here, is the ball. And you'll notice that it isn't quite perfectly round. Like I said, you do see a variety of joint shapes, but they're all based on basically round or oval kind of articulation. I'll actually show you what it looks like more obvious, a very obvious ball. We've got the top of her thigh is a very obvious round joint. The second characteristic was elastic, which is why I'm able to pull her leg all the way out to show you that thigh. And if I use the arms again, when I pull it apart, that is the elastic that is holding Usagi together. And that is another important characteristic of BJDs. It's basically that elastic is holding enough tension, or is under enough tension, that Usagi here, if I can pull her bloomers out of her thigh socket, she's able to stand entirely unsupported. There's nothing behind her. My hands are way far away. It's the elastic, the tension on the elastic is holding her upright. And I should be completely upfront, all of my dolls almost all of my dolls are in desperate need of their elastics being tightened. They're what we call floppy right now, which means, if I grab one of my other models here, Her legs shouldn't move when I shake her. This is my fault. I need to tighten those elastics. It's a bit of maintenance I've been putting off. So, the third characteristic is the most important characteristic, at least in my mind. And it's that BJDs are designed to be customized. Everything from what material they're made out of, how they're put together, how they arrive from the company. They're all of those choices are made so that it's as easy as possible to customize these dolls. And it's that idea of customization that's at the heart of the BJD hobby. The companies and the artists that make these dolls, they want you to take what they have created and make it your own vision. So there are companies and individual artists all around the world that make BJDs. The birthplace of modern ball joint dolls is Japan, where Volks, a model making and hobby company, kicked it all off in 1999. Most ball joint doll companies are based in either Korea or China. There are individual artists in France, Spain, other European countries. Individual artists tend to send their dolls to what is called a casting company, which will make molds of their dolls, and they manufacture the dolls. And then you buy from the artist back in Europe, rather than it being kind of in-house as it is with the ball joint doll companies in Korea and China, and Volks in Japan. There are even BJDs that are made by Canadian artists, like Nixie Doll's Luna, which is a bat, and super cute, and very small. Very small. Like I was saying, there isn't that much difference between purchasing a BJD from a company or from an individual artist. A company in the BJD world is usually around 1 to 5 people, maybe up to 10. Volks, who I mentioned started all back in 1999, yeah, they're the largest company with over 100 employees, but they manufacture model kits, vinyl dolls, who I'll get into because they're kind of connected to BJDs, and as well as like model airplanes and anime kits and a whole bunch of other stuff. So in all, they have over 100 employees, but they do not have a huge staff that is devoted to making ball joint dolls. So, remember I said that the material they're made out of is chosen so that it's really easy to customize? Are you wondering what material that is? It's resin! It's polyurethane resin, to be more specific. Resin has a lot of great features to it that really lend themselves to the customization. It takes well to having a protective sealant on, which you then do all your painting on top of. Resin also can be sanded, it can be added to with epoxy. It can also be dyed different colors after you've gotten a doll, which is very cool. Let me just grab 2 of my examples of of some of the fun characteristics of resin and why it lends itself to being the material of choice for ball jointed dolls. So one of the reasons why resin is such an awesome material for ball jointed dolls is that you can make adjustments by permanent modifications, as they're called in the hobby, by sanding away at resin. So I'm going to show you one of my guys. He's probably going to be super bright. okay, I don't know how much you can see, but you can see that you can see his eyeballs. Okay, before I started carving these away with a metal file, his eyes were almost entirely closed. So that's one change you can do. Another thing you can do is if you found the right look for the doll that you wanted, but it doesn't come the right color, you can fix that yourself by dyeing it, like I did to this guy here. He was originally the same color as this guy. So that's a pretty dramatic difference, I'd say. One of the other things with resin that makes it kind of like I said, the most popular choice of material for ball jointed dolls is just that it's got the right weight so that the dolls can stand unsupported, and it just allows for the best and easiest customization. By the way, if anyone does Warhammer figures, these guys are made of about the same stuff, which makes getting the materials for customizing these guys pretty easy because we've got a shop, we've got a Games Workshop here in the city. One of the other materials ball joint dolls can be made out of is ABS plastic. That's right, just like Gundam kits, which actually I have a Gundam behind me. Yeah, Gunpla kits, I should say. So this guy and this guy here are made out of the same stuff. ABS isn't a super popular option, choice of material, I mean, for the simple reason of it doesn't take customizing quite as nicely as resin does. It doesn't sand as well. You have to be a bit more careful in what materials you use for painting. Is one of the common materials you use for removing the paint from a BJD's face, if they're made of resin. A lot of people like to use Winsor and Newton brush cleaner. That stuff will melt ABS. So yeah, you have to be a little bit more cautious with the ABS guys. But they do have two big upsides, I'm going to say. One is they're very light, which can be a downside for getting them to stand, but usually it's a nice bonus that they're light. The other thing is that ABS is a lot cheaper than polyurethane resin, for a variety of reasons, one of which being the safety of workers as they are pouring the resin for the dolls. They have to be using a lot of personal protective equipment because liquid resin does not do nice things. Resin fumes also don't do nice. Well, resin fumes okay. Liquid is bad. Resin dust also bad. So always keep in mind to hobby with care and in safety. Even rarer than BJDs made out of ABS or BJDs made out of porcelain, those tend to be kind of more fine out dolls. They're not really dolls that are in the hobby because they're not designed to be customized. They may be also strung with elastic or with springs, but you're not supposed to, say, remove the paint from them and give them a new look. There are vinyl BJDs, but that got kind of phased out really quickly. Now, when you see, say, a Volks Dolphy Dream or Smart doll or a big Obitsu doll, what you're actually seeing are not elastic, holding the tension that's allowing the movement. What you're actually seeing is an internal skeleton that the vinyl is over top of. So yes, there's still a ball and a socket, but it's not the elastic that's holding the tension. There's straight up no elastic in it. That doesn't mean that the two hobbies or the two types of dolls aren't connected, though. Volks is the ones that not only started modern BJDs, but they also started their Dolphy Dream line, which then led to their competitors, Obitsu and Smout Doll, releasing their own dolls. When Volks came out with Dolphy Dreams back in 2003, the very first version of the body actually was strung with elastic. However, they were finding that wasn't holding very well with the vinyl, and they ended up switching to internal skeleton, which is what everything else of that type of doll now uses. However, those dolls are also designed to be customized, so there is sort of an overlap. Sizes! BJDs come in a wide variety of both sizes and shapes and types. But let's start with sizes. The smallest BJDs I have seen personally were 11 centimeters tall, which is about that big. However, there are BJDs that are smaller than that, believe it or not. They also go to a max size of over 100 centimeters, which, to give you a perspective, I'm going to have to back up here. To give you a perspective, this right here, that's, they go taller than that. Are you picturing it now? Doll like this. It's taller than my leg. Yeah. So that's a huge spectrum of sizes, never mind shapes. Because BJDs don't have to be human. Or humanoid, even. But let's jump back to the sizes, because there are a couple of common sizes that most companies make that you're more likely to be able to find, rather than kind of the extremes of under 10 centimeters and over 100 centimeters. Those are really like the outliers. So the first size is what's called 1/3 scale, also known as SD scale. And that's actually the size that Usagi is. So, Usagi is about 60 centimeters tall. SD, by the way, stands for Super Dolphy, which was Volks's first modern BJD. Almost all of the common sizes also have an equivalent name that is specific to Volks dolls, because usually Volks would come out with the sizes first, and then their competitors would make similar sized dolls. So, 1/3 scale is 56 to 65 centimeters. Then there is the 1/4 scale, aka mini, aka MSD. All in here is a 1/4 mini or MSD scale. They were originally quite childish looking, but as the 1/4 scale gained in popularity, there started to be collectors and people in the hobby who liked the more adult and mature features of the larger dolls, of the 1/3 scale dolls, but they wanted the size of the 1/4 scale dolls. And that's, oh, let me grab that, where the 1/4 or mature mini size comes into play. So you can see that there's a difference in the head size, and also the overall proportions of the doll are a lot more similar to the first doll I showed you than the second. And the last size, that last common size I should say, is the 1/6, which also has kind of a regular and a mature subvariant. So, like I said, the 1/6 scale actually has kind of a regular and a mature variation as well. The first that came out was the very childish 1/6 scale, which is commonly referred to as just 1/6 or USD size. They are nicely in proportion as children to the Super Dollfie or 1/3 scale doll size that I showed you at the beginning. So I think you can see here what I mean by the traditional 1/6 scale or the usual 1/6 scale. It makes a really cute child size next to the 1/3 scale. The mature 1/6 has its own special charm to it, in that much like the mature minis, you have those different, more adult or teen proportions rather than a young child. That also means that they can wear action figure clothes, Barbie clothes, etc. It's a lot easier to head to a toy store and get this guy some clothes than it is to get this girl some clothes. So 1/6 falls under this kind of broad category of tinies, which is basically any doll that is smaller than, I almost want to say it's anything smaller than 40 centimeters. I think that's kind of what it falls under now. So it goes to like those super tiny ones, like I said, the under 10 centimeters to almost the same height as the 1/4 scale dolls. And it's also that size range that is most popular with these single artist dolls, particularly the ones that are done in Europe. So what's the draw to the hobby? Well, if you made it to this point, you probably already might have the niggling sense what it might be. It's that creativity and customization I keep bringing up. That's right. Say you have a favorite anime, but it only got one season. Didn't even get an OVA. And there are like no anime figures for it. Why not make your own anime figure by using a BJD and customizing it? What about you like cosplaying, but it's expensive to do everything for yourself and you're not sure how well you could actually pull off the character? Well, first of all, have more faith in yourself. Anyone can do it. You can do it. Secondly, why not try first with the doll that cosplays? Or maybe you like comics, or you just have a character in your head and you want to have some sort of representation of it. BJDs are perfect. That's actually what I use my own for. All of my dolls, that's right, all 29 of them on display, and all 32 of them in total are all characters I write about. So, let's get into some common terms so you can understand a bit some of our specific hobby lingo. Number 1, face-up. A face-up just refers to the makeup on the doll's face, which is quite literally the paint or pastel that gives the doll definition, eyebrows, lip color, all of those sort of things. The second term is body blushing, and that's definitely connected to face-ups. It's when you apply the same principles of a face-up to the entire body. So I'm going to grab an example. I'm going to grab actually my most dramatic example. Please ignore the fact that it kind of looks spray-on tannish. I need to redo it. But this girl has skin texture. She's got freckling. And I'm just going to try to censor that. There you go. You might be able to see a distinction between the two parts. I blushed her to give her a farmer's tan. So because her face up, it's such a dramatically different color than what her resin, that's the material she's made of, the resin color was, I had to continue blushing the body so that it would match. The third term is the headcap system, which is basically for ball jointed dolls. And I'm going to take off this girl's wig to show you. Remember how I mentioned all the customization and how they're designed to be customized? So hair is a wig. Eyes are removable. Face can be painted, body can be painted, resin can be sanded or can be added to. I don't know why I took out your protective bar there. So the headcap system and the fourth term I'm going to teach you, the faceplate system, are both different ways of how do you access the eyes and how do you access the elastic so that you can remove a head. Which sounds creepier than it is. Sometimes clothing doesn't have a zipper and you have to take a head off. So a faceplate, a headcap system is, I'm going to say, still the most common system. It was the original one, and it's where the back of the head comes off, and then get nice and close. You can see the eyes held in place with putty, and you can see the elastic right there. And you can see that she's got magnets that hold the head cap in place. So the head cap may be kind of like the back half, or it might be more located at the top. Different companies do it in different ways, as with all of these things. The other system to get to the eyes and to get to the elastic in the head is the faceplate system. And the faceplate system is where the front of the head, the face, comes off. So these magnets are really strong. And once again, you can get to the eyes. And once again, in this case, they're held in place with a magnet. One of the cool things about a faceplate system is that certain companies will make different expressions, and then you can change the expression on your doll. Now we're going to go into, still continuing with kind of terms and vocabulary, but now we're going to go into that bit that I mentioned about how BJDs come in different shapes. And I didn't just mean that there are shorter ones and smaller ones. No, I mean different shapes. Centaurs, centaurs and fairies and elves, oh my, and vampires. And one of my personal favorites, anthros. Short for anthropomorphic. So in this case, those ears are a part of him. And he has little paws with little claws. And little paws with little claws. But you could also get BJD animals. They could be really realistic, or they can be kind of chibi and mascot character-like. I realize that this guy's white, so it's a bit harder to see, but still ball jointed. Still got itty bitty little ball joints, itty bitty little sockets. And then the last two vocabulary terms are single joint versus double joint. So I'm actually going to start off with, I guess I will start off with the single joint just to show you. And we're going to look at the knees because that's easy for me to expose. So, a single joint is a ball and socket joint that allows 90 degrees of bend. So both her arms and her legs allow for 90 degrees. Double joint, on the other hand, which I'm going to say is more common the newer the ball jointed doll model, the more likely is that the doll will have double joints, but always check. So this is what a double jointed knee looks like. Let's get close. There we go. So she can still do the 90 degrees, but she can fold up her legs as well, which allows her to kneel. And I think her joint's a little bit impacted here. There you go, by her clothes. But a doll that has single jointed arms can't touch their face, versus a doll that's double jointed can. You're probably thinking at this point, okay, Nella, you've talked about how cool these are, and you've got me interested in doing something creative with them. How much is this going to cost me? Well, it varies. And I know that seems like a real non-answer, but it's the truth. Price varies by company, by size. Is it one that you can buy directly, or is it something that was sold out and now you have to track it down on the secondhand market? It varies wildly, and without knowing specifically what you're looking for, or even heck having an idea what size you're looking at, I really can't give you a more specific figure. Basically, the price varies from $100, about, to thousands of dollars. So the key thing when it comes to cost of BJDs is to budget yourself. What you get from the company is not what you see in the photos. That's because most companies expect that you're going to be doing some customization, versus the dolls in their photos on their website have already been customized by them. So if you order a doll from a company, you will receive a doll that is what we call blank. Guess I wasn't done with the terminology anyway. Blank, which means there's no face up at all. There's no eyebrows on your doll. There's no lip color. None of that. Usually your doll will also come nude, so no clothes. Bald, there's no wig. And depending on the company, they may not even come with eyes. Yeah. So the doll that you see in those company advertising pictures, basically, if you want that exact doll, like exactly how they did it up, it's perfect for what you want, you can get that. It's just going to cost you a little bit more. So when you think price, you also have to factor in, okay, how much is the wig going to cost me? How much are the eyes going to cost me? How much is the wardrobe going to cost me? How much are the shoes going to cost me? It can add up really fast. As can what I have affectionately nicknamed the Pringles effect, which is, it's quite rare to run into someone in the hobby that only has one BJD. Because usually once you've got one, then you want to get a second one for taking cool photos, or maybe to style them differently. And then, it can explode from there until you end up with 32. And I still want more. Something I always recommend for anyone who's new to the hobby, if you're worried about the cost, so you decide to kind of do a starter doll to try and see, like, do I like the hobby? My advice is to not do that, because you are probably not going to like them as much as the more expensive doll that you actually had your eye on. You don't want to buy a doll because it's inexpensive. You want to get the doll that you like, because it's most of those little expenses, like the getting things put together how you like, the right wig, the right eyes, the right clothes. That's what really takes the money. And if you're already going to be spending that, you might as well be spending it on a doll that you actually love, not one that's, it's okay. Not that there's anything wrong with inexpensive dolls. Most of my dolls were what would be called inexpensive. Partly because I primarily purchase secondhand dolls, but even the dolls I've gotten directly from companies were on the more inexpensive side. And about that, get the doll that you save up for the doll you actually want, rather than settling for the doll you have money for now. I do have a personal story regarding that. My very first doll I got because of her price, and I've basically been kicking myself ever since that I didn't get the one I actually fell in love with, because I can't find that doll anywhere on the secondhand marketplace, and she's been discontinued for, I want to say, 13 years, so it's getting really unlikely that I'm going to find her again. It's not that I don't love the doll I ended up actually having purchased, but I think I would have liked this one more. And now I'll never know. So, don't do like younger Nella did. Get the one you want, not the one that, you're thinking, oh, I'll just get something inexpensive to start to see if I like it. However, that brings us to a topic that is really important but is tough to talk about, and that is recasts. So if you go and search right now BJD, you're probably going to hit a site that says BJD Shop, and it has a lot of dolls, and they seem to be cheaper than what you might be seeing prices elsewhere. Don't buy from that shop, because those dolls are all what is known in the hobby as recasts. A recast is an illegal counterfeit doll. It's out theft, but it's more than that. BJD hobby is a hobby that is only available thanks to the artists and creative minds behind the companies and the individual artists who make the dolls. If you purchase a recast doll, you're spitting in the face of the people who actually made the thing that you've fallen in love with. A recast may be, I'm going to say maybe cheaper, though oftentimes you can find dolls that are in that price range. They just might not be the size you're originally thinking of. This is where it gets tough. I actually, on my YouTube channel, did a long video talking about recasts since I've been in the hobby so long. And I've seen kind of the community attitude change in a way that doesn't compute. Recasts directly harm the BJD hobby because it's so demoralizing to see the work of the companies and the artists be stolen and then sold at a much cheaper price. And then the effect of not knowing whether someone's doll might be a recast has led to kind of this distrust and fear in the broader BJD hobby, and specifically when it comes to selling dolls secondhand. Why are recasts so much cheaper than legitimate dolls? The dolls that are actually sold by the company that sculpted them. Well, recasters, the people who make recasts, don't have to worry about the health and safety regulations that the legitimate companies do, and all of that expensive personal protective equipment. They don't have to spend the money on paying for the artist's time sculpting, because they're taking a finished product and making an illegal mold out of it, and then making illegal copies of the doll. It's a huge issue in the BJD hobby, and I make a point of bringing it up in this presentation, not to scare you off from the hobby, but to warn you that recasters and the people who sell recasts are looking to take advantage of you. They may not disclose that's a counterfeit, or they might try and convince you that it's fine that's a counterfeit, who cares. They might try and say that, you know, it doesn't affect the hobby, but it does. And having been in the hobby since 2006, I have seen what happened when recasts exploded in availability, and it has not been good. Yeah, other than recasts, another sort of cheap doll you may find online will be listed as like BJD, be like BJD 18-inch, beautiful, da 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 da. Anyways, like a word salad sort of title. And underneath their clothes, they look like this. So let's use our 3 characteristics of a BJD. Decide whether this is actually BJD. Okay. 1, we need to have ball joints. Okay. Well, this looks to be a ball joint, but that's not strong with elastic. These are actually, I don't even know if I can spin that forward. These are actually hinge joints, like in an action figure, or those superposable Barbies. So, no balls, no sockets, no elastics, and they're not designed to be customized. Contrary to what it says in the eBay or Etsy or AliExpress title, not a BJD. A cool articulated doll, yes. BJD, no. You also have to be careful with purchasing them because not this specific one, but some of the other ones will be recasted ball jointed doll heads that have been cast into a different type of plastic, all illegally again, but won't allow for any sort of customization. But enough about that. Let's talk about how you can buy safely if you're interested in joining this hobby directly. Because you can still be in the hobby without having a doll, because who knows, maybe you're in the process of saving up or in the planning or in the researching stage. So, easiest way to buy safely is to buy directly from the company or from their authorized dealers. The other option is to, like me, purchase secondhand, but there are, some questions you should ask the seller if you're purchasing secondhand. If you need any tips for buying secondhand to try and, save a little bit of money, it's nice. We all like deals. If you want to have any tips for buying secondhand, you can contact me. We also have a file on the, oh dang it, it's not on the Facebook group right now. I have tips written out for purchasing secondhand BJDs. That if this were an in-person con, I would be freely distributing them to you, or getting my assistant to do it. So, we're almost done, almost. Let's talk about the community, because that's one of the things that makes a hobby, at least in my opinion, is finding people who are also interested in it. So the first place I always suggest for going for the BJD community is Den of Angels. They're the largest English-speaking forum. They actually, I'm going to say, really popularized BJDs. They're kind of the go-to place. They are a forum though, so I'm not sure if you need to be invited in anymore, if you can send in just a request. But there's like some posting stuff. There's like posting guidelines before you can access certain subforums. There's also there are also some really important rules you have to keep in mind when you're on them, so that can be difficult for some people. That's also where I get most of my secondhand BJDs. They have a fantastic marketplace. The second place that you can find BJD hobbyists is Facebook. There's a very active Facebook group called BJD Addicts. They also do video vlogging prompts, which could be lots of fun. There's them. There's a Canadian ball jointed doll Facebook group where you can buy, you can sell, you can just share dolls, ask questions like, hey, have you gone and charged customs on a doll before? How much was it? And also on Facebook is Winnipeg BJD, which is the group I'm a part of. I'll tell you more about us in a moment. Other places, other social media where you can find BJD hobbyists. There's Tumblr, that's kind of died down a little bit. Instagram, there's a lot of stuff on Instagram. There's a few on TikTok, but the platform doesn't really lend itself to exploring the hobby quite the same way. And then there's YouTube, which is one of the places I'm on. So, let's finish off with what's Winnipeg BJD? So, Winnipeg BJD is the local Manitoba group of BJD hobbyists and collectors and customizers. We started off in October 2006 on LiveJournal and then ended up migrating to Facebook. We do meetups when in-person gatherings are allowed. Those are approximately every 1 to 2 months, and the Facebook group is quite active. We have a lot of members who do amazing things, so I'm going to list a couple of our members and then we'll go and finish off this presentation with some pictures from different members of Winnipeg BJD. If you like robots, you need to talk to Kitty. If you're looking to have clothes made for your doll, or you're looking to get some snazzy glasses like these, then you need to talk to Brenda. She also has 3D printed a BJD robot before, so you should check out that one as well. TJ and Eileen are both face-up artists, and they've both had people from around the world send in their dolls so that they can work their magic on them. I think it's, I think it's Emma, Squidlings. I think it's Emma, who does, she makes her own eyes and wigs. And then Julia, Wendy, Kels, and Chris have been part of Winnipeg BJD since the beginning. And then there's me. And if you ever want to know anything about the history of BJDs, you come to me. So let's end it with a fun slideshow of some BJDs. I'm going to specifically show ones that are kind of demonstrating the magic of a different face-up and different styling. Every couple of dolls will be the same mold. So it'll be like one doll, and then doll number 1 and doll number 2, and they'll both be the same base doll, but they'll look very different. Okay, have a wonderful Ai-kon. Bye-bye.